Hello again. Zulu is back. After some trying to eat a bit, not easy. I'm quite tired and yeah, but I have the good energy for reading more fan fiction for you guys and girls, whoever you are. And I will continue this story, Monster by Blackwing. Potions, rhymes, and apples bucked. Having Nightshade dropped on her doorstep, Sikora Emilia went about her work, taking care of him. She sealed his wounds, giving him an antidote, and he was resting quite comfortably. After she uh, assured the three fields that their friend would survive, she sent them home. Okay, just to make sure we have our stories straight. You're he- we were heading to Sikora and we got a little sidetracked. It's all, said Skudlo with a commanding tone. Why can't we just tell them about Nightshade? Apple Bloom asked. He ain't no mean or scary, and he saved their lives. And he might need some help. You saw how hungry he was. Can't do that, said Squeak Sweetbell. Sorry, my voice is off here. They try looking for him, or catch him. He's obviously doesn't want to cause a commotion. That, and I don't want to get in trouble with Rarity for going into the forest and getting in danger, she said, still crying a bit, but feeling much better now that she knew that their new friend would be all right. We could just head home. We'll keep. We go back tomorrow and make sure he's okay. Oh, and Apple Bloom, bring lots of apple. He's gonna be hungry when he wakes up. The Pegasus added. Oh, my head. Nightshade mode. Huh? Where am I? Welcome to my humble adobe. You look like you need some rest from the road, the zebra said. That would be an understatement of the century. I guess that school and friends brought me here, he asked, knowing that it was probably the case. Indeed, she rhymed. With the friends in danger, they show the greatest strength and speed. Hmm. Do you mind me asking, why do you rhyme everything you say? He said as politely as he could, knowing that in this world, or rather any for the other matter, there are three people you do not mess with. The one making your food, the one making your meds, and someone on their own territory. Right now, Sakura was all three. The urge to rhyme must not be ignored. If so, I'm easily bored, she said with a chuckle. Ah, Nightshade said with an understanding. A little nonsense now and then, relished by the wisest of men, letting out a chuckle on his own. Sakura couldn't tell if that was a crack at her rhyming or whatever strange creature before her was being serene. But she quickly dismissed the thought as she brought him some stew. Oh, fresh vegetables, potatoes and leek, broccoli, cauliflower, and red beans. You must be incredibly talented, knowing what nutrients I'm lacking without knowledge of my species. The dietary requirements. Nightshade was throwing compliments left and right, trying to make up for the rhyme in case he had offended her. As you are, I know the taste of what's in my stew. They both let out a small laugh. I guess that would be fair to say, since you're short thought deadly plans each day. Know what is good to eat in this forest is no small feat. By the time she has finished her rhyme, Nightshade had already finished 2 bowls of her soup and was moving on a third when he stopped. I cannot thank you enough for this, but unfortunately, I have no way to return your kindness. Zecora looked a bit puzzled at why he had stopped eating when he was obviously hungry. He, he looked at her and gave an explanation. Where I'm from, kindness is not easily found. If you are helped by one, you should do all you can in return for a favor immediately. Many times others are aided is because those who are doing the helping want something in return, and they are trying to force unlucky victims of the circumstances into a debt of gratitude. There are very few who assist others because it is the right thing to do, and not because they desire something in return. I am one of them, but I lived in a world where kindness is a trade, a transaction, so I tend to play by those rules, aiding those who have helped me, and so not find myself in their debt. At this explanation, her face turned into a frown, and then a clever grin. For what I have done, I won't charge you, as long as you tell me your story true. And so, Nightshade told his story from the beginning, how he was different from others, the thing he could do that others could not, how it alienated him, all the way up to the point of lying on the floor in her house, as well as the motivation behind them. He didn't know why, but it felt that he could trust Sakura with everything. He knew from the Apple Bloom story that she too know what it was like to be different and shunned. After he was finished telling his story, Sakura didn't even try to rhyme. Davis, please call me Nightshade. Davis is my past, one that I have buried. This is a new world, a new start, a new name. Nightshade, I know what it's like to be feared. Every time I went into Ponyville, they would all hide in their houses, lock their doors and windows. I can understand why you would be apprehensive about going into the town. So, I will keep you a secret from all but those who have already met. Thanks, Ikora. Do you think I could spend the night here while I recover? I did lose a lot of blood, and I need to wait for it to replenish itself. So that's something I just can't get from sapping plants. Of course, she replied. And I don't, and I think come tomorrow they should not see you. 3 fillies will be in sorrow. Picking up her rhyme where she left off. The CMC had avoided getting into trouble with their sidetracked explanation, and no pony was wiser that they actually had been in mortal peril. He heading out the next day to check on their friend, using the excuse of visiting the wise zebra friend for advice on how to get the cutie marks. They arrived to find him in the best of spirits. Hey, looky what I got! Apple Bloom, holding out a fresh, juicy apple. It was snatched away in a moment as he saw it. Man, Apple Bloom, these apples are really the best. You say you live on the orchard? Nightshade said while taking his time with this one. Yippers, a little too young to go apple bucking, but I'm still help out in the way I can, she said. Saw his confused look. Apple bucking? This meant when we bucked a tree to make the apples fall off. She was met with an understanding nod. Maybe you can come sometime and get some for yourself. I don't think that would be a good idea. I'm I am trying to keep a low profile. If some pony saw me, they would probably act like there was a manticore walking into town. Last thing I want to do is cause a commotion. I mean, I'm considered a monster by my own species, and humans are a lot more gruesome than you lot. So, can you imagine what the town would think of me? Nightshade was met with frightened stares from all but Sikora, who already know what he was. Something I said? Sweetable was looked like she was going to cry, and Appleblue was shaking. Scootaloo was the one to talk. What do you mean by humans? Humans are just a ponytail. You only read about them in really old books. Not that I read much. Rainbow Dash sets ratings for eggheads. Well, my parents were humans. My sister was a human. Everyone who can talk where I am from is human. So I make that makes me a human, at least in the traditional sense. Since I don't act like a human, I can do things humans can't. I don't really consider myself a human though. And either does the rest of my world. That's the reason I was being chased in the first place. Because I'm different, he explained. Now the orange Pegasus joined the companions in their shock. Right there was a living human. Parents told the children to behave because if they don't, the humans would eat them in the middle of the night. In Equestria, humans were equivalent of the boogeyman, a monster in the truest sense. But you ain't mean or evil. You saved Scoots from the Timberwolf and all three of us from the Manticores. You almost died trying to save us. How can you be a monster? Applebloom inquired. Well, maybe you should tell me those ponytails so I can set the record straight, Nightshade advised. They walked for several hours, telling him in all the stories they could and heard. Most of them were surprisingly accurate. How humans kept other animals in captivity, making them fat just so they could eat them, and how humans would eat dogs and cats, which Nightshade explained in certain fortune countries they did and do that. But from where he was, that was considered to be disgusting. Don't worry, fish are extent of my carnivorous behaviors. Most humans don't hunt or farm. If the meat isn't prepared for them, they have no idea how to do it themselves and resort to vegetarian diets. Besides that, there are a large number of humans who eat no meat at all, simply by choice, other than fish. I haven't eaten meat in 6 years, and I don't even miss it, he explained. Realizing that now humans weren't some monsters, jagged teeth and glowing eyes that would snatch them out of the beds at night, the CMC would question more about the human behavior, which Nightshade answered regretfully. He told them about their ponytails, right when they said that humans were a monster of hatred and greed. Their most part were evil. He also talked about how many countries have people starving and had the others, more wealthy countries, wouldn't do anything about it. He told them about how they waged war over trivial things. He also told them about the good of humanity. Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, and several other key figures throughout history that did a great deal of good. When he explained that most of them had been killed by humans too snuck up in the ways of changing for the better, even Sikora have a skull. Finally, on to my story. Sikora already knows it. But you should know it too. I'll leave it out some of the more violent details. At a young age, I learned that I could see life energy in all things. But because I was different, the other kids made fun of me, and I had no friends. What about your own family? Applebloom asked, being a very familiar, family-oriented child. My mom, my dad, and my nieces, they went on a trip a couple years ago to visit some of their friends. I didn't go because I didn't really care for my family grave gatherings. They usually result in me feeling awkward around all sorts of people I don't know, and I have no intent of getting to know me. They were adults. I just want a teenager. I was just a teenager. We had nothing in common. There was an accident, and they when they were on the way, and they died. He stopped short, wanting to talk about it, not wanting to talk about it more. His eyes started to water. For Applebloom, who loved her family more than everything, Sweetibel, who was constantly trying to get her sister's affection, and Scootaloo, who has lost her both parents at young age. Just thinking about losing their families was heartbreaking. Over the time, I learned how to use life energy in different ways. I could heal, I could recover stamina, all sorts of things. But it was always a trade. If one was healed, someone else had to take the injury. Someone who I thought was my friend found out. And well, he paused. He tried to take my power for himself. He would use it to make the wealthy like him flourish, while inflicting pain on the poor. I don't want that. Wouldn't agree to help him. He couldn't have what I have, so he tried to kill me. I ended up having to give my injuries to him so I could stay alive. I'm sure that he died from it, all because he wanted something that nobody should have. That's why I am a monster. I shouldn't exist. I can only cause pain to those around me, he said with a sob, began to cry. I trained this power because I wanted to help people. Maybe I could have saved my family. I don't know. But now I have it, so it brought me nothing but misery. You saved me from the Timberwolves, Goodler protested, and us all from the Manticores, Applebloom chimed in. You got hurt because of me, and you didn't get mad, squeaked the third Crusader, suddenly at and shuddered at the memory. What happened to you was not your fault, my tall friend. You did what was right in the end. Sikora, who had been silent for the whole time, finally spoke up. The Crusader wrapped their legs around him, giving him a huge hug, while Sikora stayed back. Your powers cannot heal wounds on the heart, but by helping these three, you have a good start. Apple Bloom decided to bring her human friend to the edge of the forest. It had been already 6 months since he arrived, although he couldn't tell for sure. He had still never left it, sneaking past Bloodshy's cottage while the Crusader walked out in the open. He felt kind of silly, but he couldn't be too careful. It had gotten dark, and the Crusader had headed home. Apple Bloom, bringing Nightshade to the edge of her orchard. Yeah, now you can have some more apples if you want. Just come by and grab some every now and then. I hate to see us starve, the yellow earth pony said. Thanks, Apple Bloom. But I think I come back after it's fully night time. I hate to get spotted. Nightshade resounded. Okay, suit yourself. With that, she ran home, and thought about a quick lie when she was going to Sequoia's instead of helping on the farm, and trying to get my cutie mark in herbology line. It worked pretty well, and she headed off to bed, promising to make up for the visit to work double the next day. After the moon had risen high, Nightshade snuck back into the orchard. He was moving quietly. I was sure that no pony would catch him, but he was on the edge. Something told him that even though Apple Bloom had said to take some apples, something wasn't right. He wasn't a thief. He had been told to take as many as he wanted. So why did it feel like he was doing something wrong? Figuring out he would climb up the closest tree to the edge of the property, picked an apple and took a big juicy bite. Vermin steals my apples. Applejack woke in the middle of the night. Apparently have woken by the farm for so long. The pony with a Texas accent developed an innate connection to each and every tree, and could tell when the various rodents were stealing from them is in an instant. Putting a signature hat on her head, grabbing a flashlight and some rope, she stomped out on the house towards the edge of the farm. Thud. Nightshade felt a thump. Oh, sorry about that. Back to here. Thud. Nightshade felt a thump on a tree he was sitting on. Thud. The apples fell out of the tree and he almost went with them. Boom! A third and even more powerful kick knocked him out of the tree, causing him to land flat on his face. Quickly rearing up his composure, he stood up to see a steaming mad mare, with a sternum turned around, shifted her legs into the air. She bucked him right in the apples. Yikes! At least they could have been mistaken for apples. At now red and swelling as they are, doubling over in pain, letting out a high-pitched eep as he fell to the ground, grasping as he grasping at his damaged property. AJ wasn't nearly so mad anymore, and staring to think clearly. What the hey? She said, spying at the cloaked figure in front of her. She didn't know what it was. Laying on the ground, the cloak looked like it could have been a pony, but wasn't quite right. He brought a hoof to the creature's hood, intent to unmask the devious apple thief, when she fell over in pain herself, and started to grasp at her stomach. Having received somewhat, but still in pain, the cloaked figure creature, which was now clearly not a pony, ran as fast as it could, clutching his groin. Oh, I feel for ya. Hop over the fence and went into the forest. The orange cow pony could only watch as it disappeared in the night. Why was she hurting? The creature hadn't touched her, but she was lying in pain. What was that thing? Once well into the forest, out of earshot of any who can be listening, Nightshades let out a series of unflattered phrases that would make even the most hardened sailor cringe. He had only given the mare half the injury, because he was in too much pain to focus probably, and partly because he wouldn't wish that the kind of pain on any living creature, even if it had been inflicted to some, just been inflicted at the same pain on him. After determining that he was in fact not sterile, often being bucked in the groin with enough force to snap a tree in half, he passed his injuries into a tree. He watched its leaves wilted and roots rotted, and its only bark fell off. The tree fell over with a crash, dead. The trees didn't have so much life force as animals, and the poor thing couldn't handle the strain. Don't worry, pal. Don't worry. You'll be put to good use, he said to the fallen tree, climbing another and going to sleep, hoping that his consciousness he could forget all about the mind-numbing pain he had just felt. Oh, Hayseed, Applejack cursed. Yeah, considering curse word for ponies. Yeah, I guess I lost it. Whatever it was, nothing to do about it now. Go back to bed. I got a long day of apple bucking tomorrow. I don't think it will be coming back, though after the bucking I gave it, she thought to herself, as she walked slowly back into the farmhouse, still groaning from the dulling pain. Good riddance. Ouch. That hurts about thinking about that one. And Applejack, have a good kick. Okay, my listeners, Zul is out of this for now. See you next time and have it good.